And so in 2008, I was working, and thank God I was working when my husband left. I did take on full time at that point, and the girls were doing well. My son Joseph was in the military in the Air Force, and Peter was still in high school, going off to college. So he went to UT in Austin, and in 2009. I remember the day vividly. I got a phone call from the Austin police that Peter had committed suicide.
Oh, no.
So he had jumped off a 7-story garage, parking garage. Yeah, it's a moment in my life that, transcends every other bad moment. At that point, like I said, I was just feeling stronger in my personal life, and things were going forward. And Peter also struggled with depression and anxiety. And, as you know, it runs in families.
Yes.
Different things stir it up. Maybe it's dormant and then it comes out. He had been on medication and in counseling and had a peer group and had all his accommodations set at UT to assist him. So it was very shocking. And I want to talk about that day because it was very significant in my faith walk. And I want everyone to know how God just moved in a powerful way, like quickly. I went into the bathroom, into my closet. And I remember leaning against the wall. I was just going to fall down with the shock. And I said, the faith was there, but it was hard. And I just said, Lord, I can't do it if I don't know you have him. But if you have him, I'll be fine. I can make it. And I came out of the room, and some nurse friends from the hospital started to come in. I had some other friends there. My girls were there. 2 weeks before Peter died, my father passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. So I lost my husband and my father and my son within a 2-year span. It was quite crippling. But, with Dad, he was older. He was 81 and he had some illnesses, and we were anticipating it. The story goes at my dad's funeral, and it was a beautiful funeral filled with much faith and love for one another and our family. We were at the graveside, and it was drizzly that day. The clouds were out, and my dad had a summer camp in the mountains that he built for our family, and he loved eagles. As we were at the burial site, one of the siblings of the 10 said, wouldn't it be amazing if we saw an eagle right now? And I said, now this is before Peter died, I said, well, we'll see one when we need it, because that's how God works. He gives you what you need when you need it.
Yes.
So that passed. And right after he passed away, my 2 sisters went to the apartment where he died with my mom. And they stepped out onto the patio, and there was a big rainbow in the sky. Well, that day or that week, there were 5 rainbow sightings in our family. And one of them was a double rainbow over the lake where our camp was. One of my nephews had gone up to be there just to feel connected to Dad, his grandpa. And he saw a double rainbow over the lake. So we were all pumped up, wow, this is God's promise to us. And, and he's got Dad, and we're all going to be fine. And so I was sharing this with my nurse friends when I got back to work. And suddenly my Peter dies, and they're all coming into my house. And one of them grabs me and says, Dodie, come out to the bottom of the driveway. And I went down with her, and there was a rainbow, and the end of the rainbow was over my house.
Wow. So
I'd prayed the prayer in the closet. I'd come out. The women came in. They knew my story about the rainbows, and they were more excited and I was excited for them that here I am in the midst of grief, and I'm aware that God is working in them by giving them faith right now. And they see this rainbow after Peter dies. And wow, remember Dodie said, so that was the first of many. The week of later, so that was a Monday. 2 significant things happened. Monday night, a woman in our parish at St. Anthony's who was very involved in the Catholic school. She has many gifts, but one of them is very significant dreams. I mean, God gives her dreams. This is one of her gifts. Mm-hmm. She came up to my daughter, Sarah, who's my oldest. She teaches at the school, or did at the time. And she said, "Tell your mom I want to share a dream with her." So the dream was that she saw this young boy, blonde hair with a bowl cut, laying prostrate on a bumpy, rocky ground in a room that was very bumpy.
Okay.
With his face down, and he was in agony. And she said, then she saw, she felt more than saw a presence next to her, and the Lord reaching down to Peter. Oh, I'm saying Peter now because I'm going to tell you the rest of it. This boy, and lifting his face, and it becomes radiant and glowing with joy. And he says, "Come, you are mine."
Wow.
So this woman woke up and didn't know Peter, didn't know Peter had died. And she said, "Oh, it must be that one of the young people from St. Anthony's school is going to become a priest someday." Because, laying prostrate.
And that's what she thought.
Of the Lord.
Yes, yeah.
Then she hears about the death. She comes on Friday to the viewing, and we've got the casket and the tables with all his pictures. The church people were so helpful to me in that. She said she felt the Holy Spirit say to her, "Take your time with the pictures." And when she got up there was a picture of Peter at his first communion, and she picked it up. Wow. And she said, "This is the boy in my dream."
Wow.
So I'm telling you that was it. There were many other sightings and little mini miracles, but that, for me, she wrote it all down in detail. It was very detailed. And I have that in my Bible, and I read it, and I know that Jesus has my boy. Another significant dream was my son-in-law, who at the time was not my son-in-law, but was dating my daughter, very, very devout Catholic. He shared that he'd had a dream about Peter. It went on, but he said at the very end of the dream, Peter said to him, "Tell Sarah and Mom that the goodness of the Lord had mercy on me."
Wow.
So again, wow. God was giving me all this affirmation and this assurance of that Peter was fine. One more story about that was the morning of the funeral. So all my siblings had flown into Texas. All 10 of us were together. It was really special. And my oldest two brothers, who the one brother had lived in the Adirondack Mountains for many, many years. And he knew every bird and tree and flower and hiked every mountain peak in the Adirondacks. And that's Mark. Mark and Peter, my brother Peter. My dad was also Peter.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, we have a lot of Peters. They were staying down the street at my friend's house, and the morning of the funeral, they were going to walk down. We were all meeting at my house. So they came out of that house, and Mark looked up in the tree, and there were 2 bald eagles in the tree.
Wow.
He went back inside. He knew it. He knew what they were. He went back inside, and they asked the husband, "Can you come out and just confirm that we saw this?" And he said, "Yeah, they nest at Lake Woodlands, but I've seen one, but I've never seen 2 together."
Wow.
So he rang my doorbell a few minutes later, and he said, "We've had a miracle." And, I told you about my dad and the significance of the eagles.
Yes.
And his name is Peter, and my son is Peter. And
yes.
I just thought our 2 Peters are together today and celebrating with the Lord while we have this beautiful, beautiful funeral. Sad, but also very beautiful. So my heart and my mind were completely immersed during that time in God's goodness and everything. So,
I mean, even though it still must have been hard to get through all of that.
It's been 11 years. Tomorrow is actually his birthday. He would be 31. He was 19 when he passed away. Wow. The first years were extremely difficult. it's like a roller coaster with any death, as most people have experienced in their families. You know, the wave comes and you get through it, and then you get better for a little bit, and then the waves spread out, and over time you do better for a longer period, and then you have your memories. So I'm doing very well.